Hello there. So what we're going to go through now is often undervalued by students and how important it is, which is how to analyse a question. This often loses students a lot of marks, not because they don't have the knowledge to answer the question or understand the work, but because they've got bad exam technique in how to analyse and answer a question. So this is a really important topic. This is what we call the talking mock. So below on the common work tab, below where this video is linked, are a number of documents. Everything I'm going to go through here is also on a PowerPoint there, so you can also look at it on a PowerPoint at a later date if you want. So what we're going to talk about is what you need to do before you start to answer a question. So get a question up. Can you please load up this question here? So the one about period 3 and 4 are from the talking mock, and again that is hyperlinked underneath this video. And just as I go through this video, try and analyse the question in the following manner. So have a read through the question and have a think about what topics are relevant to this question. Is it about alkenes? Is it about melting points? Is it about spectroscopy? Is it about Le Chatelier's? And then just stop for 10-20 seconds and just try and dredge that stuff back from the back of your mind to the front of your mind. Take a few seconds to do that, and then you're much more likely to remember things and not make what students often call a silly mistake. But it's not a silly mistake, it's because you've not thought about it for long enough. If it is an organic question, which this one isn't, but if it was, also just have a think of which functional groups are involved, and then just take 10-20 seconds to have a think about what reactions do you know that involve that functional group. So if you can stop the video now, pause the video and have a go at just writing down some scrap paper what topics are involved in that question. Welcome back. So the next thing to do when analyse a question, and this is very important, especially in 6-marked levelled questions, is to think about the command words. So there's many different command words they can give you, and each one is asking you to do a different thing. So if you don't analyse the command words properly, you're going to answer the question and what you say might be perfectly correct and true, but it won't be what the examiner's after, and so you won't get the marks for it. So there are a number of command words which you need to know about. I'm going to go put up one at a time. Each time I do, pause the video and just have a think to yourself, what do you think that command word means? What is it asking you to do? So the first one is explain. So pause the video, have a little think, what is it asking you to do if it says explain? Welcome back. So explain means you need to give reasons for your answer. So this would usually be a more than 1 mark question. So one for the statement and then at least another one for the explanation. Evaluate. Okay, so in an evaluate question, in your answer, you must show that you have used the data by referring to it to make your deduction. So you've got to use the data that's been given to you in the question. Usually it'd be a table or something like that. State. So state means no explanation is needed. So these are usually 1 mark questions. Name. Okay, sounds pretty obvious, but name means name, not the formula. So if it said name a suitable reducing agent for ketone or an aldehyde, if you said NaBH4, that would not get the marks, because that's not the name. You would have to say either sodium borohydride or sodium tetrahydridoborate. It's like the English words, the name. Describe. Okay, so describe means state in detail. So again, with those levelled questions, the more detail, the better. If it's a mechanism, if it says describe the Cayley arrow mechanism, draw out the mechanism. If ever you can give a balanced equation for something, include the balanced equation. Don't try and write it out in a sentence, do the equation. Show. So show means include all of your working out, so especially mathsy questions. As always in maths, you should always show your working out, but especially if it says show. And suggest. So suggest means you're not expected to have learnt the answer, so it won't be something maybe that you've directly done in lesson, but you have to apply your chemical knowledge to a new situation. So these are generally quite hard questions. What you've got to do with these is think about what the question is like, make an analogy with something you do know, and adapt it. Okay, so with this same question here, so just to remind you, with this question here, can you go through, and what I'd like to do is underline all of the command words and then just have a little think about what they actually mean. So you can pause the video now, have a crack at that. Okay. Now, if the question has any numbers or any useful information, circle them. And again, just take a few seconds to have a think about what those numbers are referring to. So if it's 0.1, well, 0.1 what? Is it 0.1 centimetres cubed? Is it 0.1 moles per decimetres cubed? So is it volume or is it conc? And also, what does it refer to? 0.1 moles per decimetre cubed of HCl. Right, so that's the concentration of HCl. So do analyse not just what the numbers are, but what they're referring to and which chemical they're talking about. And if it says to write an appropriate number of significant figures or decimal places in the question, before you start the answer, underneath the dotted line where you write the answer, write down what that number is. So if it said round to 2dp, underneath the answer line, before you start the question, write down 2dp. Otherwise, you get so caught up in the question. I totally understand why. 5 minutes less, stress exams. You'll forget to do it, and that actually loses a lot of students a lot of marks just because they forget to round to what the question's told them to. I imagine on your progress tests, most people will have lost a mark on that before if you think back. So that's a really useful tip, that. And then when you get to the answer, you'll see that, oh, it said 2dp, and it will remind you to do it. Equations. If ever there's an equation that can be made, do it. So like, for example, if it was a question on buffers, get down the equations. If it's an organic question, get down the equations. Only after you've done all of that stuff should you then attempt the question. Once you've attempted the question and you're happy with your answer, go back and all of those command words you underlined at the start, tick them off. And what this will do is it's a bit of a safety net to let you know you've answered every part of the question. And this is especially important with those 6-mark levelled questions, because they will almost always ask you more than one thing. So they will contain more than one command word. And if you only answer some of them, often you'll be capped at a level 2 or maybe even a level 1. So you can give a really banging answer, but still get capped at 2 marks. Okay, so now you've analysed that question, let's just have a look at this one example. This is what I would have said for the question. So the key information I would have circled is that phosphorus is P4 and sulphur is S8. You might have circled slightly different things, that's okay. Really, it's the fact you've thought about it which is the important thing, but they're the two I would definitely have circled. The command words I would have underlined is explain, comment with reasons, and use the information. The topics I would have said this is on is periodicity, properties in bonding, melting points and intermolecular forces. And also, as it's a comparative question, I've just put a little note, this would need a comparative answers. So I would have said greater, not great, things like that. So that's the idea for how to do this talking mock. Once you've analysed it, have a go at this question now, and I've hyperlinked like the actual mark scheme to the question also underneath this video. So have a try at this one. There's other levelled questions as well. I'll just quickly flash them up so you can know which ones to do. You can do exactly the same with this one. So just like we did before, go through the same process, analyse the question, and then try and answer it. This one as well you could do. This question from the talking mock is a really good one to do. And this one here at the bottom is a really good one to do. Okay, thank you very much.